One channel, different shows, everything entertaining. Make a Path presents Let's Talk. Welcome to Make a Path Presents. I am your host Ronnie Hayes, and today, let's talk The Walking Dead Q&A 15. Alright, let's not waste any time and get right in this. Jack Dixon. Do you think the kids from the webisode survived? If so, will they be added to Rick's group? No, I don't think they survived, and no, I don't think we'll see them in Rick's group. HRS Productions. Would you want Bob's right leg or left? Oh, dude, that is gross. I don't want to eat his legs. He's black. I'm joking. Isaac Rodriguez. If you kill off Rick, will the story be focused mostly on Carl or the rest of the group? Well, the popular idea is, yes, it would follow Carl in the comic book, or it would follow Judith in the TV show. And Carl, because they're both alive still. Judith is dead in the comic. I think the hunters did not make the X marks on the tree. Their mark was a flat gash on the tree, and then there was an X mark. Do you think the X are from the people from Alexandria Safe Zone? Listen, I did a video on that. Boom. Go ahead and find that. You probably already saw it already. So, no. And no, I don't believe Morgan knows what the X's are. Perry Thomas is engaging his subscribers in the comments section. Oh, okay. We're not answering that one. Bogdan, what do you think of the Vinnie Jones as Negan? No, I don't think Vinnie Jones would be a good Negan. Talking the Dead. Love your account, man. Thank you. It's like my favorite YouTube account on the internet. Well, you got a good Twitter and Instagram account yourself, so. Shy Would Awful. How do you think they will eventually kill off Rick in the TV show and comic book? If you don't think he will ever die, how will the show, TV end? How will the show and TV show end? I don't believe that the comic doesn't have to end. It doesn't ever have to end. You're writing those characters. They don't need to live or breathe. Comic book, at this point, creatively, should never end. The TV show, however, how would they kill Rick off? I feel at this point, Rick has to die in battle, or giving his life to save people. I don't see any other way. He's not going to die just accidentally. SP The Walking Dead 123. He actually asks, in the mid-season finale episode was named Coda, and the picture of Coda, the symbol musically, is the same symbol Morgan sees on the tree. What are your thoughts? Actually, that isn't revealed, and that might seem like old news. However, I did see something interesting in an interview with Scott Gimple. He said that when Morgan appears, that's his coda for something else in the story, and I forget what he was saying, but the coda did have two meanings. It meant the end of the musician's story, and it means Morgan's story. You remember coda? It has that placement in music or something like that. So it did have something to do with Morgan, but not in the show. Behind the scenes it did, like symbolic. Kane Williams. I've noticed Michonne has less and less airtime, and she's becoming a very stale character. I'm wondering what her future will be in The Walking Dead. P.S. I love the Q&As. Hey, thanks a lot. Listen, Kane, don't ever talk bad about my girl, number one. And number two, don't you ever in your... Wait, that's rule number one. And number two, they can't have every character in the limelight, and that's what I love in The Walking Dead. You'll have, especially in the comics, you'll have a character fall back for 10, 20 issues, and then they're in the front again, and they're a major part of the story. I really like how they recycle that, and it's a lot like real life. In real life, you will have people who playing a more important part in the story, and then they fall back. Especially friends. You might have a friend who's really close for a long part of your life, and then they're away. Maybe you guys move away. Like right now, I moved to a whole different state, but I still have two best friends that are in PA, and we don't see each other ever, but, in a year or two from now, if we ever reconnect, it's just like I left yesterday. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like that thing. Maybe that's a stupid example. Anyway, Walking Hulock. What? That's your name? Walking Hulock. The book about treating survivors of childhood abuse came from Carol bag or Daryl's bag. You know what? I give up on this fucking thing. I said Carol took it. It makes sense that Carol would take it because the book is for somebody else to treat somebody who was abused as a child. The book isn't for people who were abused as a child. Daryl was abused as a child, and Carol wanted to treat him or help him, so that's how I took it. And then I rewind it because everybody said it came out of Daryl's bag, and it did, but and I'm trying to find proof of this. I will have a video on it, but I thought that was Carol's bag Daryl was carrying for her. I could be wrong. Matter of fact, you guys, please do me a favor. I don't have the time to go and double check that. Leave it down below. I was almost sure that Daryl was helping her carry thing. You know, I thought she put that book in there. When it falls, he picks it up and he hands it to her. And she puts it back in the bag and she goes on. If he took that book, wouldn't he pick it up and take it? You know what I'm saying? But the biggest thing that leads me to believe that she took it and not him is he doesn't know what it is, or at least it doesn't look like he knows what it is. If you go and watch that scene again, it's brief because they cut the camera angle. He actually turns the book around to read the title. He doesn't just, because the book falls title down like this, so it falls down like this. He picks it up and does this like. If he knew what he stole, why would he do this? You know what I'm saying? Why would he take it, unless it was just an actor's thing, like, oh yeah, you caught me, here you go. Then he hands it to her angry, and you see the pencil fall out. I thought that scene would have been better if Carol took the book, because it had to deal with somebody who wanted to treat someone who was abused as a child. That book was not for, and everyone says this, oh, that book was surviving child abuse. No, the book was not. The book was actually treating survivors of child abuse. That's why I thought it would have been better if it was Carol. I just think it has way more meaning if Carol took the book and not Daryl. So it might be Daryl, buddy, but I just feel like Carol should have taken the book. They show Carol taking Tom Sawyer, and her bag was stuffed. I mean, this shit just points to Carol to me. They show her stuffing Tom Sawyer in the bag. Her bag was filled. Even if that was Daryl's bag, she probably put the book in his bag because her bag was stuffed. They show that, you know? I don't know. Caden Abernathy. Who do you think should play Jesus? When will he be introduced in the show? If I had my way, he would be introduced in season 7, probably episode 15. And I have no idea right now who can play him. Victoria Lane. Love your videos, big fan. Thanks, Victoria. Just wondering, why do you think The Walking Dead does not usually give characters a brutal death on camera? And then you went to, you know, T-Dog had a brutal death or whatever. Here's the thing. Beth's death was in your face, and it was pretty brutal. The back of her head got blown out. Andrea's death was done off camera, so that wasn't brutal at all. Lori's death was... It was pretty gruesome, cutting the belly open, but her death itself wasn't, you know, it was tasteful. And that's another thing in Beth's death. If you watched it behind the scenes, they said that they wanted to do it tasteful because of who the character was. And that is the worst thing, I think, in my eyes. I get it. You do want to do it tasteful because some fans can be out there. I just feel like a death should be a death. If it's a horrific death, it doesn't need to be tasteful. It's a horrific death. But I disagree. I think it's an even mix, you know. I do want to see more of the gore with the main characters, the main deaths. And you know what? I have a feeling, hopefully, there will be a main character that dies very brutal. But Herschel's that was brutal as hell, you know? So, that counts. Logan Jackson. It's obvious Morgan previously had problems with the group of people by looking at his traps. How crazy he acted and clear. He says you will be torn apart by teeth or bullets, and said Rick was wearing a dead man's face. Do you think maybe he had problems with the Saviors or the Whisperers? Or do you think that will lead to any kind of future story? Thanks, man. Enjoy the hell out of your videos. Hey, thanks. I appreciate that, Logan. I appreciate all of your guys' support. You guys fucking rock. However, no. The Saviors are just way too far away, you know. I mean, they're pretty far. That's way too far for them to be looking for anything, you know, let alone interact with Morgan. It's way too far away. And the Whisperers, I don't think that society has degraded enough. I think the Cannibals and the Hunters was like a first step towards society really falling apart, but I think we have a few more seasons and a couple more years yet, you know, because think about it, in the comic book, they still had about a 2.5 year time jump that we completely skipped. Even before that, it was, you know, what, a couple years. So there's like a 4 or 5 year thing in the comic. I was never really stuck on how long it's been, but it's been years, you know, so I think we need a little bit more time for that. I think it was just some interesting dialogue that they put in there. Red Hood. In the first compendium of The Walking Dead, the art style is different. In the first chapter, it's more polished and clean. I personally like that style more than the style that is used now, because 70% of the panels have derpy faces from time to time. Which do you prefer? You know what? I like Charlie Adler's style now. I mean, I really like it, but I do like Tony more. He wrote the first 6 issues of The Walking Dead, and what's interesting is when I first picked up The Walking Dead, even Tony Moore's style, it did take me a minute to get used to it, because I pictured more like high definition pictures, you know? I pictured more detail, and now when I read it, when I see some of the images, I actually love it, because it's not just like, it's kind of like art, you know what I mean? It's not just a really good detailed image of a man's face. They have like this certain black and white, the contrast. It's just like, it's like an art piece for me. So I enjoy both. I'll be honest with you. I really enjoy both. Robin, with all the fire and smoke flashbacks, do you think that Carol resembles the mythical Phoenix? It could be. A lot of those writers are doing some crazy shit. Henry Kulick, why is it that you feel so strongly that Beth is going down? I feel that since Carol has completed her character arc, time for her to go. Social media was actually my crystal ball for predicting Beth's death. I mean, honest to God, because she stopped filming at the mid-season finale and she was never on set again. It's that simple, you know? Flow Gamer YT, who will play Jesus in the Walking Dead series? P.S. You're awesome. Listen, you're awesome too, but I'm going to have to do research. Enough people asked me, I'm making a freaking video. I'm making a friggin' video. That's it. Mine's made up. Where's my notebook? Jesus video. Done. Christian Banda. Q&A. If AMC were to end The Walking Dead, would you like to have, like, the last episode stretched out into a movie, or would that be a horrible idea? I never like those ideas. If you're going to end a TV show, keep it a TV show. Matt Finn. How do you think the writers will deal with Negan swearing in the show? Well, I did hear from an interesting fellow, I believe Jeff Combs or something on Facebook. Sorry if I screwed up your name, but he did say, and I didn't look it up yet, but there is a point in TV, I guess the policy with the FCC, if it's past 10 o'clock or 10 o'clock and on, they're allowed to use the F-bomb as much as they want. So they could possibly push the time slot back. However, if they didn't push the time slot back, I would honestly prefer if they just muted the word. I don't care if they mute out all the F-bombs, you know? If they had Negan come on and say, you fucking fuckity fuck face motherfucker, fuck you. I will rip off your fucking head and shove it up your fucking ass, you piece of fucking shit. I'm happy with that, because you know what? I'll buy the Blu-ray like I always do. I'll pop it on, and I'll get to re-experience the season with all the foul language I want. But no, do not bring Negan on and cut out the profanity. Absolutely don't do it. Chasing Tails, what did Tara find in the backpack? I saw her with a yo-yo. I think it was just a yo-yo. It's fucking stupid. Joshy T. Hey Ronnie, I'm thinking the Uncle Noah is talking about is Douglas Monroe. What are your thoughts on this? No, I do not. Noah's uncle was in Atlanta, if you remember what he's talking about. That's why everyone said they think it's Morgan, because they're black. Clearly, all black people are related. I mean, this is fact, people. 2 racist jokes in 1 segment. Alright. Anyway, no, so I don't think he can be Douglas Monroe, to be honest with you. Not only that, Douglas Monroe is white, unless there's some kind of, you know, he's the uncle but not blood uncle, married in uncle type thing going on. Or they can make Douglas Monroe black. I really wouldn't mind that. That would be a neat change. And that wouldn't make sense because Noah doesn't know about Alexandria, so they can't do that. He's gonna take him to Shire Wiltshire. I forget how they changed that around. Joachim Garhenden. I don't know how to pronounce some of these names, man. Do you think that Rick will die in season 6? No, I do not. Don't ever come to my home again and blaspheme. Mr. Stoichkov. 8. I heard a YouTuber say that the survivors are going to find the Wiltshire estates before Alexandria. True or BS? That is true. Expert Legend. Do you think that there will be a winter episode in The Walking Dead? No. Hopefully in the companion series, but not in this season. They don't ever film when it snows. Johan, if Sophia was still alive in the show, how would Carol be? Would she still be weak, or would she be as badass as she is? Very good question. I think Carol would still be as badass as she is. I think she still would have transformed because what she said to Daryl inside the building was true. She had it within her. You know, she really did. It just took certain events to bring it out of her, and I don't believe her daughter dying brought her badass out of her. I don't believe that was it alone. I believe that did help. help. But I believe she would have became a badass regardless. Sliced Up Drunk. I like the longer Q&As, but with them being longer, slowed down how often we get them. Yes, it would. Will Gabriel in the show die before his comic counterpart? What do you think the DC scavengers will appear? Will the traumatic impact Joe's group left in the show ever be brought up again like the comic book counterparts? No, honestly, it might come up in conversation. When they get to Alexandria, that might come up in conversation. Gabriel, it's very possible that he could die in the TV show sooner than his comic book counterpart, because even in the comic book now, he's one of those characters who was like a plot device, and he was there, but he doesn't really do anything. For me, at least, for my entertainment value, he's just like a village, he's just a person in the town, you know? And I'm hoping the DC Scavengers are season 6. Corey Wilson, why is Christian Serratos so fucking hot? I don't know. Snurp Bup, do you think Sasha will die this season? When she does die, will it be by walkers or people or natural causes? Oh, you mean like childbirth? No, I don't believe she's gonna die. No, I don't believe they're going to incorporate her pregnancy into the show. I think Sasha will live this season. If she did die, she'll die by people. Conrad751. Awesome video as always. Thank you, bud. Kind of bummed my question wasn't on here, though. I'll ask it again, though. Q&A. What do you think of the rumors that Morgan might be Noah's uncle that he was talking about? Again, no, I don't believe so. It is possible, though, because he was looking for his uncle who was in Atlanta, you know, and Morgan was, like, on the outside of Atlanta. So, no, I'm going to say no. It's just too much of a coincidence. Terabytes. Do you think we'll see another character say Comic Andrea's "We Don't Die" line in the TV series? She says it a lot during that. From her famous bell tower scene. You think the line would be very suitable for Carol to say, because she's one of the original Atlanta group and she's been so much, yada yada yada. And it looks like Sasha's becoming similar to Comic Andrea. No, I agree with you. At this point, it wouldn't make sense. It absolutely wouldn't. I would want Sasha to do it if they're making her Comic Book Andrea. I would want Sasha to say the line, but I'm fine if they give it to Carol, and if it's in the right context. Perfectly fine with that. You know what I mean? Like, not give it to Carol and have Carol romantic, but have, you know, Carol still a close friendship with Rick. That's fine. But for Sasha to say it seriously, at this point, it wouldn't fit. It wouldn't fit. You're absolutely right. However, fortunately, we are going to have a few more seasons before that. So, it would fit if they did bring those characters together closer and have them face more threats. Before that line, they can absolutely have Sasha say it. At this point in time, if it was to happen right now, it still would be kind of odd for Carol to say it. You know what I mean? But it would fit Carol. I agree. It would fit Carol. Carol can get away with it. She absolutely. But at the end of the day, I still want whoever's taking Comic Book Andrea's story arc, I want them to say it. If it's Sasha, great. If they're going to bring in a different character, a new character, to me, they're too new. It wouldn't work. So either have Sasha say it, or or they can't do it. Yeah, it is what it is. What?
My daddy's a psycho, and I know he loves The Walking Dead.
Alright guys, Dawn of the Dead. Do you think writers will let Abraham live past all-out war and make it into a new beginning? No, I do not. I believe that he should have a death in all-out war, because Abraham is that, you know, he's that embodiment of a soldier, like an army guy, you know, like infantry, you know? I can see him dying in a dramatic scene in All Out War where his death would help the good guys get like an advantage over the bad guys, you know what I mean? Like Rick's team, like Abraham does something where, let's say they take out a main outpost, but he loses his life. I can see that happening. So, Abraham dies in All Out War. Calling it now. Tom Jonas Maji. A cool thing I was thinking about the other day. Rewind to Rick in a coma pre-apocalypse. If the apocalypse never happened, what do you think that Shane might still have made moves on Lori? Do you think it was the situation that threw them together, or maybe Shane was jealous of Rick? You know what? I did mess up once or twice because I kind of combined the comic and the TV show when I'm talking about this, because it's not too much of a refresher. But I believe that, well, we know Shane does say that he's wanted this for a long time, you know, and that was at the point where the outbreak was just happening. They just left. So yeah, Shane did have the feelings pre-apocalypse, but I believe it was the situation that threw that in there. I mean, he probably had those feelings, but was always like, no, that's my friend, that's my buddy. Because keep in mind, even though Shane turned into what he did turn into, pre-apocalypse or in the beginning, he was probably still like, well, I have the hots for her, but I'm not going to do that because that's my buddy's wife, you know? Franklin Clinton. If Noah is taking the group to Alexandria, do you think we will meet his uncle? If so, do you think it will be an original character? Do you think they won't even be there, or do you... No, Franklin, I do not believe that he's taking them to Alexandria. I believe he's taking them to Wiltshire Estates. Yeah, he's not... Noah is not taking them to Alexandria. We can say that almost without a doubt.
Subscribe now.